I call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners. It's Thursday, June 19th, 2025. The time is 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Bendy.
Here.
Commissioner Bowe.
Here.
Commissioner Halting.
Here.
Commissioner Leduc.
Here.
Commissioner Mallon. Commissioner Matza.
Here.
Commissioner Grau.
Here. Do we have anything to add, amend, or delete from the current agenda?
I don't have an official amendment, but I just wanted to take a second and say thank you to the staff for coming on Juneteenth. I know it's an important holiday, but I appreciate you all being here. Thank you.
We'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who
Before we
wishes?
get to public,
Oh, I'm sorry.
we do have to amend the.
Oh, we
No,
don't.
no, okay, never mind.
Sorry, you weren't in on that. Sorry, I should have noticed your eyes. All right. Is there anyone here from the public who wants to make public comment? Come on up. State your name if you feel comfortable, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tim O'Regan. I live at 410 West Cuttress. I'm a 20-year resident of Park Ridge, and thanks for allowing the public to speak. What I wanted to speak to about tonight was a troubling incident took place at the Park Ridge Pride event recently on June 5th. A drag performer was videoed dancing in a suggestive manner in suggestive clothing. In front of a young boy, and actually I've seen, since I wrote this, I've seen additional video that there's other children there too, a longer version. And the adult performer was waving dollar bills, or was actually, let's just say, exchanging dollar bills with the young children. These are prepubescent children. So it wasn't just a performance, it was actually contact through the dollar bills and actually involvement, which that's where not only should a adult entertainment not take place in a public park by itself, in the middle of town, front of City Hall, middle of town, a lot of unsuspecting visitors to busy uptown on a typical day. I was just there. And there's a lot of people who just drive through, walk through, kids walking through. They have no idea, what's going on. I only knew about this event from a large banner at the corner of Bussey and Elm. I believe that's Park District property or city property at Hinckley Park. So on Bussey Avenue, I thought, okay, Pride event. Okay, I was like, young children's event. It was either children's event or young children's event, and then drag performance. I'm like, okay, that's a troubling combination, but I never in my wildest dreams thought it would be, an exchange between, young children and the drag performer who was dressed very suggestively. So sorry, I'm getting upset. So take a little breather here. So that's my main point. It's an adult entertainer, whether that is a man, a woman, or a man dressed as a woman, or a woman dressed as a man. If they are performing like that, I believe that is any place in a public park, and I just question why more questions weren't asked of the organizers of this event, who these people were.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
And that's my main point. Where was the lack of curiosity about what was actually going to happen? And that combination, I saw that banner, I'm like, that doesn't seem like a good combination. And the mayor was going to speak there. I'm like, I saw that too. And I went online. I'm like, there were a lot of red flags raised in my head. I'm like, where was the curiosity and the alarm bells going off in the Park District? I don't know if you guys were how knowledgeable the board was, but I know some staff was aware. So that's my main point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alicia Bailey. I'm a longtime resident of Park Ridge. On June 7th, I submitted a FOIA request to the Park Ridge Park District, as well as City Hall and the library, to obtain information regarding the district's involvement with the Pride in Park Ridge event held on Thursday, June 5th. I've spent a few hours reviewing almost 400 pages of documentation that I received. I would like to share a summary with you this evening. On Monday, January 6th, the Park Ridge Community Church submitted a special event permit application to the Park Ridge Park District. On Monday, January 13th, customer service manager Debbie Myshek replied to the community church indicating she would start the application process. Under the section called Entertainment and Related Activities, there is a question that reads, quote, will this event feature entertainment? If yes, describe the name and types of acts or attach an entertainment schedule. The community church completed this as, quote, yes, there will be a family-friendly drag show. Details TBD, end quote. At this point, the obvious response should have been to this question, what is meant by a family-friendly drag show? Can anyone on the board here tonight help me understand the difference? Right, yeah, we don't know, do we? So was anyone aside from Debbie even aware that this drag show was planned? The 400 pages do not suggest that any other employees of the Park District were involved in approving this request. It was treated routinely as other mundane logistical issues going through the emails. Debbie emailed the community church with follow-up questions about, electrical and all this, and where will the family-friendly drag show take place, right? But this is something that should have definitely received more scrutiny. It was told to her it would take place in a tent, a 40-foot by 60-foot tent, and then ultimately it was moved to the steps of City Hall. But again, why that decision was made and who played a part in that was not clear. I would like you to watch the video. I'm going to try and play it here. Hopefully people have seen this.
You do have 1 minute left.
Your Wi-Fi doesn't seem to be working, but you can see this yourselves on Twitter on Abandoned Nation. But, clearly this is somebody who's dancing suggestively with young children, collecting dollar bills, and is fairly scantily clad, just like a stripper. So, again, I would appreciate if the Park District can kind of internally understand how this happened. I don't think it's appropriate for young children.
30 seconds.
And while I am still awaiting the City of Park Ridge's response to my FOIA request, it is clear that our government units egregiously fail to protect young children from wholly inappropriate adult behavior. We can and must do better, and I hope that by bringing attention to this matter, our government will never again be complicit in the sexualization of young children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Sweeney. I've been a resident in Park Ridge for, since 1960, my family moved here. So it's been a long time, and I've certainly seen a lot of changes and been very involved here over the years. I'm a mom, and I've also taught special needs preschool children. So as Alicia had just mentioned, we're still awaiting answers from a FOIA request from the City Council on questions about how the Pride event, or as I see, it was really an exhibition, came to be on the steps of City Hall. Originally, it was going to be in a tent. I hope that we can get some answers tonight from you all. Why we're here and why several of us showed up at the last City Hall meeting was because we don't think it's appropriate for young children. This is different than an adult situation. So I want to make that distinctive difference of our concern here is for children. We don't think city resources should have been approved for this. Mayor Marty Maloney chose not to respond to any of us that spoke up at City Hall at the meeting last Monday, but I hope we can get some cooperation here to answer us and give us an answer. And while I realize that this is the public comment section and that we're bringing these concerns forward, I know that it's still allowed that you could respond to us if you so chose, or at least give us some kind of indication as to what is, what's going forward, how you can answer us. Former Mayor Dave Schmidt did this all the time. I was a trustee for the township, so I was an elected official, and if we needed to offer clarification on or give an answer so the residents would feel assured that their concerns were heard, we would do so. So I would hope that one of you would step forward and request that it either be added to an agenda item if we can't discuss it and people are unaware about this tonight, or so that it could be discussed next board meeting under new business or old business, whatever's appropriate. And as a reinforcement to this, I think it's the right thing to do. I would direct you to look at your own strategic plan in the Park District. Your goal number 2 is engage in community feedback, whereby your strategy and then your measurement documentation itemizes that you will evaluate programs, and then you will administer 10 to 15 program area surveys per year. So I would ask that you consider doing this as it pertains to the Drag Queen celebration and exhibition. I would venture to guess that there's many residents in Park Ridge, not just the few of us that are here, that would be concerned about this and have no idea that it even took place. There were a lot of people from out of town. So, my concern is it was billed literally in the LGBTQ committee as a youth-centered celebration. And my concerns for the children, I asked the mayor and the alderman the following questions. How did this benefit our youth? Organizers should have to explain this. What is gained? And I ask you this, what is gained by this, by exposing children to this? Who formally approved the permit? And how does this fit into the mission of Park Ridge or the Park District? What I heard was, I heard about it through the national media. And the comments were, let's not sugarcoat what's going on here. The kids were encouraged to partake in the sexual fetish of grown men dressed as women by handing them dollar bills as they dance.
Thank you. Your time is up, Susan.
I have more to say, but I don't think this is inclusiveness or community or love as defined by the committee. I think there's other ways, and you guys have tremendous programs, so I'd like you to stick to the program.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hi there. Excuse me. Hi there, Dana Schiller. I too was at the Pride Fest, and I have children and all of these things. And parents brought their children. This was a parent choice to bring their children there. This wasn't about anything. Like, parents brought their kids and played and ran and had fun and had snacks. And I've seen people wearing workout clothes that looked similar to what these people were doing. And I didn't see the dollar things, but parents brought their children. That was parent choice. I don't feel that other people should tell parents how they should raise their children. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, thank you for coming. We'll move on to acceptance of the final audit. Excuse me.
Hi. I'd like to introduce Hannah Cullerton from Lauterbach and Amon. She's the auditor we worked with and she's going to present the 2024 audit. Excuse me.
Thank you, Karen. Like she said, my name is Hannah Cullerton. I'm one of the audit managers. I've helped the Park District audit for 3-4 years now, so we've been around the block a couple of times. So thank you so much for having me tonight. I'll keep it short and sweet, I promise. So first things first, I always like to thank the staff, Karen, Lucy, John, everyone that helped provide information to us. I know it's not fun to have an audit, but it has to be done. So again, thank you so much for all of the hard work and the patience and all the kindness that you've shown us. So it's always great working with you. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the financials, I do always want to point out, I think it's page 6, so right before that financial section of the report, you'll see the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence. This is something that the Park District has to apply for. It's not something that it just immediately earned. So this is a huge achievement, a huge award that gets awarded to them every year. And this has been the 42nd consecutive year that the Park District has had it, and it's going to be 43 soon. So congratulations. Moving on to page 9 is the Independent Auditor's Report. This is where we give our opinion of the audit. So you'll see that we gave an unmodified or a clean opinion. So it's the highest opinion that you can have when you have an audit. So exactly what you want to see in that one. Just means that everything was presented fairly in all material respects. The next section on page 13 to about page 22 is the Management's Discussion Analysis, or the MD&A. So this is the high-level overview of the report. So if someone wants to read the report, they want to know what that information entails for 2024, I kind of highlight this here because if they have a couple minutes to read it, they'll kind of get a high-level overview of what the rest of the report takes place. Now jumping to page 25, you have the statement of net positions. So you have your assets and your liabilities. So for the current year, total assets and deferred outflows of resources were about $115 million. And on the liability side for liabilities and deferred inflows of resources is about $67 million. So on the asset side, there's mostly comprised of cash and investments, your receivables, and your capital assets. On your liability sides, accounts payable, any accrued interest, and all of those IMRF, OPEB liabilities as well. On page 27, you have your statement of activities, so your revenues and expenses. For the current year, there's about $24 million in revenue and about $18 million in expenses. That gives us about a 14% increase from last year, so very healthy net position overall. Jumping again to page 32. This is the start to our notes to financial statements. I like to call it the meat potatoes of the report. What do those numbers mean? A lot of jargon, but there are some points that I do like to highlight. On page 41, you have your capital assets. So you'll see increases and decreases of depreciable and non-depreciable assets. So everything pretty standard. You know, a lot of construction in progress with the different projects going on. As well as that there. On page 42, you'll have your long-term debt, so all of those GO bonds that the Park District has, and then on the next page for 43, you have a kind of high-level summary of what those numbers are, including your compensated absences. The next page is on page 50. So this is the joint venture, just high-level overview of what Menazur has on their financials for 2023 because it's a year in arrears. The next section is a whole another section, which is on 61. So this is the supplementary information. So you have your schedules for IMRF, you have the OPEB schedules, and then the budgetary schedules as well in here. I won't go too much into that just because there's a lot to look into. And then jumping again to 74, we have the consolidated year-end financial report, or the CIFR is what we like to call it. This is where we have a summary of all of the grant expenditures that were incurred in the year. So you'll see for state expenditures, they were about $3.6 million, mainly due to those projects that we were talked about for the construction in progress. And then from here to the end of the report, you have your statistical section. So what are the financial trends, the revenue capacity, debt capacity, demographic, all those fun information that you'll see the trends for I believe, the last 10 years. That is that report. I know I went fast. But the last thing I do want to touch on is any management letter comments that we do have. You'll hear management letter comments and you feel a little scared, and that sounds a little scary, but it's truly just recommendations that we have, anything that we saw that can be approved, oh my goodness, basically improved on, or any new pronouncements that the government is saying that we need to implement. So you'll see in the current year, there was only one recommendation falling from prior recommendation is funds over budget. So last year there was about $2 million for general, but then that went away, and there's only about $29,000 for recreation, and just due to timing of expenditures and anything that was unforeseen. And then any upcoming standards, there's only two, GASB 102 and 103. Nothing that management really needs to take to worry about. It's mostly just report related, jargon changes and stuff like that. So those will be coming up in 25 and 26, respectively. And that's me. Is there
Any questions?
Jinx.
Jinx.
I just want to say, don't be afraid of this.
It's very daunting.
I know it's a lot of pages, but take it section by section, open it randomly, take a look at it, ask me questions. I've gone through this many times. It's really, it's a great way to get a sense of what's happening at the district, so.
There's a lot of good information in there, and thank you for giving us the overview. I think that helps.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for.
Page 13 is the best page, just giving that overview of everything.
Yeah, the highlights.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Awesome.
Hannah.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great night.
Thank you, Hannah.
I move to accept the 2024 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report of the Park Ridge Park District as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? She doesn't want to know if it passes. Oh, gosh. Can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Halting,
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Aye.
Commissioner Mallon, Commissioner Matza,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy. Yes. Commissioner Grau.
Aye. All right, that passes. We will move on to Park Ridge Baseball, Softball recognition. On behalf of the Park Ridge Park District Board of Commissioners and staff, it is my honor to recognize our affiliate, Park Ridge Baseball and Softball, as they celebrate an incredible milestone of 75 years of service to our community. Since its founding in 1950, Park Ridge Baseball has played a central role in shaping the youth of Park Ridge, teaching not only the fundamentals of baseball and softball, but also the values of sportsmanship, teamwork, and perseverance. What began as a boys' baseball program has grown into a thriving organization supporting both boys and girls aged 5 to 17, and now reaching over 2,000 participants each year. Throughout the years, over 7 individuals from the program have gone on to play in the major leagues. That's cool. Park Ridge Baseball and Softball is a shining example of what a volunteer-led organization can accomplish. With dedicated directors and coaches, many of whom have served for decades, this program has left a lasting legacy. Their commitment has led to more than $1 million invested back into the Park District in the form of improved fields, lighting, batting tunnels, and the creation of Kalina Field at South Park. And special recognition goes to Commissioner Gary Abazishan, who is here tonight and who began volunteering with the organization in 1977. And he's sat up here too. Beyond the numbers, the organization has fostered a sense of belonging and pride. Generations of families have gathered at the ball fields, coaching, playing, and cheering from the sidelines. Baseball in Park Ridge is more than a sport. It's a tradition that continues to strengthen the fabric of our community. Thank you for continuing to build character, connection, and hometown pride through every pitch, hit, and game played. Please join me in congratulating Park Ridge Baseball and Softball on 75 outstanding years. We're going to ask you to come up and take a picture unless you have something to say.
This is Vice President Tom Farinella, Director Fred Angelini. 2 of us are former Park Board members.
Yay! Come on up. I think. Yeah. We're all in our, get the band together. Uh-oh. Let's stay back.
Are we supposed to come around or should we?
We'll run around.
Oh, no, they want us around the other side.
Oh, too big.
The seat, I think.
Gotta listen to the boss.
This is such a glamour. You do it. Nice try. No, no.
Might have to Photoshop.
Thank you, guys.
I know, it's like the side
Artificial turf? No.
Well, whatever, that's, yeah, we're looking at that, but, you know, since they now make billions. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. All right, back to work. Approval of minutes. I move to approve the minutes from the May 15th, 2025 regular and annual board meeting.
Second.
Is there any discussion? I did have a slight change that I recommended. There's a President Tunnel mentioned on the minutes.
Oops.
The Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, I'll take that.
All right. I didn't think it would be a big deal, but I figured I should mention it.
Nope. Thank you.
All right.
You're going to have to give John his $5.
Anything else? All right, all in favor? Oh, as amended, well, okay. I move to accept as amended the minutes from the May 15th, 2025 regular annual board meeting.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, we'll move on. All right. We are going on to closed session minute review. Thank you to those of you who reviewed the closed session minutes. I move to approve resolution number 25-4, a resolution regarding the release of closed session minutes.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, we'll move on to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Report of park officials. I have nothing to report. Attorney Price,
Nothing to add?
thank you. Executive Shade, or Director Shade.
Thank you. First and foremost, I just want to thank staff for all their hard work. You know, summer's up and running now. The pools are open, camp's going on, ton of park projects. Karen and her team did a great job with the audit. It's scary to say that we're talking about budget already, so budget's in the air, but we're moving along quickly. But I just want to give a huge shout out to all the staff for all that they do. Yesterday, the Farmers Market Commission held another meeting. At that meeting, it was determined that a decision was not going to be made regarding the farmers market location. There were comments spoken at the meeting regarding the location of Cortland and Butler from the church and the negativity that it would impact them, and also with residents. Thank you to Commissioner Mallon for being present at that meeting as well. So it was great having you in attendance. The Park District did not speak at this meeting, but we did submit a formal letter. Our letter, along with 6 other letters, and then 2 petitions that were signature pages, were also included in the packet. At the end of the discussion, Director Awesome brought up the idea that staff is also relooking at using Prairie in its entirety with their parking lot as a potential location, so that might come back too. And then also relooking at the layout for the Taste of Park Ridge, if they could utilize that. One of the commissioners was against that location because how close it is to the street if kids were running everything. So don't know if they'll move forward with investigating the Taste of Park Ridge, but it does look like the staff is doing some more work regarding Prairie Avenue and the location about moving it there in the future. The next meeting was scheduled for July 16th. It was proposed at that meeting to move the meeting to July 30th, 2 weeks, due to the fact that a certain commissioner would be out of town for that meeting. So they did not vote on that. They asked for discussion, so don't be surprised if we see the July 16th meeting be canceled and then rescheduled as a special meeting for July 30th. So more to come on that front. So there was no recommendation to City Council last night. Additionally, staff is working on the 3rd of July fireworks. It's hard to believe, as we're talking about budget, that 2 weeks away from today is July 3rd. We are working with city officials, the police chief, fire chief, their personnel, public works, and then also District 207. Due to construction on the track, we are looking at an alternative layout, so it changed a little bit. Does not look like we might have access to the stadium area, the turf, or the track. So we're working through those and finalizing details. More to come, but staff's doing a great job with the event and making sure we still have an amazing fireworks show. So shout out to everybody on that committee, from the Recreation Department and the Buildings and Grounds Department. And then thank you to the intergovernmental agreement that we have with all those parties to make this event great for the public. So more to come as we get closer. So any questions? No?
I have a quick question. So you mentioned
Do you mean they would use like where the Taste of Park Ridge usually is?
Yeah, that location.
Okay.
Yeah, so
In front of the train
it's in
station.
front of the train station. That got brought up, but it was immediately voiced with concern from the commission due to how close proximity it was to the street with kids running and crossing that street there.
Which street?
Tui. Because
Where it is, they just block it off completely.
yeah, that was a voice of concern with a lot of people move in, and if that whole area was laid out for the farmers market, if kids were running, would they run into Tui? So that was a voice of the concern last night. They did say it was only one person's concern, so I'm not sure where that's going from the city to not speak with them, but that was what was presented last night.
And then they would use Prairie, like where the market is now, and then along Cumberland Park?
It would.
All the way over to Cumberland?
They didn't say anything about Cumberland. They said Prairie, and then one of the parking lots is actually public parking by the city, is one of their lots there. So they would use that lot and not use it for parking.
I think
Sorry, I'm
the
having
furthest
trouble
north,
visualizing
I think the furthest north one
Yeah.
with the meters and stuff is the
Like
city
one,
lot.
like the one like across from Panino's, or the one that's closer to.
No, all the way up
Oh yeah.
where the vendors are now.
Yes, yes. So they were talking about utilizing that area. Again, we did offer them utilizing Cumberland Park, maybe along the sidewalk or something, so that might come back into play. It was not discussed last night. I had it on my radar to reach out to Director Awesome and speak a little bit more about that if they were further investigating Prairie.
Seems like that whole length of Prairie could be used, and then for emergency vehicles,
For-
they could get
Down.
on all sides.
Correct. So I think there is something there from my personal opinion. Don't know too much how they're investigating, but it is on my radar to reach out to Drew.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Good news. Thank you. And I agree, staff is doing a great job, off to a great summer. Feels like it's been going for a while, but it just started. Okay, marketing and public relations, Director Holler.
Hi, my report is on 140. Like, I never thought I'd say a page that far down. A couple things I'm going to highlight is we do have new park rule signs, and the buildings and grounds staff will be working on getting them installed in all of our parks. Those incorporate some of the changes we've adopted in the last year, like the e-scooter notice. We also had our photography featured with IAPD on their magazine, and also light pole banners in Springfield, so that was nice to see. And then I just wanted to touch base that our Jim Lachette, our digital media specialist, his last day was yesterday, so that position's open. We're going to have we're going to accept applications through June 27th. As of this afternoon, I have 112 applicants. So I am very hopeful that we will be able to fill this position with a qualified candidate. If I can't find one out of 120 or 112, yeah, I think I could find one. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and we move on to Human Resources, and Director Riker is not here. Is that you?
That's me. Director Rector is not here tonight, but her and her team have been doing great things, as you can see from her report that starts on page 142 of the packet. We have a lot of staffing, new hires, but I'm going to leave that to other staff at this table that can speak about the new hires and the promotions within. But HR has been working with staff on onboarding, getting paperwork ready for the summer, and getting job descriptions out there for the Oakton positions, since Oakton will be open in the next few months. Additionally, we have facilitated training with the Park Ridge Fire Department, as you can see by some of the pictures down there. They came out and trained with the lifeguards. So it was a great time, and lifeguards had a good experience. I can answer any questions to the best of my ability regarding HR.
Well, I just wanted to share the comment that I had emailed to you that my daughter and I were at the at Centennial at the little side diving pool, and all of a sudden I see something land in the water that looks like a baby, and the lifeguard, like, she was like, boom, she hit the water, and when she surfaced with it, you could see it was a training dummy, but it was just really, but I mean, it was really impressive how she just like, boom, reacted. And it was really great to see from one of our staff, no hesitation, perfectly executed, then hold on her back, like with getting it to the side. And seeing that little spot check made me feel like really great about how our staff does and how seriously they take those things. And they're just like I said, she spotted it like a hawk and was in the water.
And, Ethan and Jen have been doing a great job training. I did pass along your message to April, and she did still share with the staff, so it was greatly appreciated. But a huge shout out to the aquatic staff for being ready for the summer and making sure all of our swimmers and patrons are safe.
A lot of staff. Great. All right, we'll move on to finance with Commissioner Bundy.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll turn it over to Superintendent Larson. Thank you.
My report begins on page 143, and I'm not ashamed of that page number. Just one thing I wanted to highlight in the narrative report is that we are starting to talk about 2026 budget. I did include some dates in here for the special board meetings. I don't know if you want to just think about them, and maybe at our next board meeting, or you can work with Executive Director Shea to see what dates would work with you. But we are anticipating another budget presentation, which we'll do in a similar format to what we did last year, where we do everything all in one evening. And that would be the week of October 27th. And then we would plan to have a special meeting to establish the estimated tax levy and the budget and appropriation ordinance on November 6th, and the board approval of the tax levy ordinance on December 4th. On next Monday, we are doing our budget kickoff meeting. We will present to staff a schedule, and we know that these dates may shift depending on board availability. And then at our next meeting, I'll share the full schedule with you. But we just wanted to start talking with you about the special meeting dates.
Good. I like your new format.
Thank you. I don't have pictures, but I have bullet points. So very exciting.
Graphs.
You don't want to put in cute little dollar signs.
I may be ready for next meeting.
I think it's easier to, I like the bullet points. It's easier to digest than the sentence.
That's what I was thinking. As I was writing it, I was kind of getting lost in my paragraph.
Right.
And this way, I hope that it's easier for you and the public to just look at the points. So thank you for that feedback.
Questions? Oh, that's you.
Anyone else have any questions?
I emailed Mary Beth about that week of October 27th, but I've already thought about it, and I might be out of town for that, but I'm already thinking I'll send one of my staffers to that conference instead. So I think I fixed my problem
Okay.
already. I'm going to delegate it.
Okay.
I'm going to delegate it like a boss.
Well, you can still think about it. We still have time. It's early days, but we just
I
wanted,
think it'll be all right.
you know, once we hear from you, then we can let staff know so that they can also make sure to be at the meeting.
Any other comments? Okay, should we go on to the review?
Okay, Executive Director Shea and I thought that it might be a good time to do a brief review of the actual financial reports in the packet. And so you can follow along either on the computer or the paper. And I kind of wanted to give you a sense of the purpose of each report, the data, where it comes from, preparation, how we prepare it, how I prepare it, and then just some ideas for your review as you're looking at it. This will be brief, so feel free to ask questions tonight, or if you go home and you think of questions, definitely email me. Happy to answer them. Also with the thought, are there things that are repetitive and we don't need? Are there things in this board packet that you would like to see that you're not currently seeing? This is sort of a long-term goal of mine, to really create a packet that's vibrant and useful for us and the public. So I'm very open to ideas. So just please keep that in mind. Before we start on the specific reports, I just wanted to explain a little bit about what our monthly close process is. We close every month, and when we say close, that means the last day of the prior month, the first day of the next month, we are starting our reconciliations for the bank accounts and the investment accounts. We're working on accruals. We are posting journal entries, and that can be journal entries that record interest properly or reclasses from staff, mistakes that have happened that we're fixing. And then we're also reviewing the month. So that usually takes about a week. It depends on what date of the week the first of the month happens. And once it's officially closed, then I begin the board reports. So I really don't start until accounting manager Louiso has finished her review. These reports that I submit to you, well, the data all comes from MSI, which is our accounting software. These are all Excel reports. So we can't really, I can get the data from MSI, but the reporting is limited. And this is one of the reasons we're exploring the idea of a new accounting software, because the reporting is so limited. So everything that I create, I have to do as a separate report in Excel. It's not terrible, but it's, there's room for error, right? I have to be very careful as I'm working on those numbers to make sure that everything, and I have lots of checks and balances to make sure everything ties. But I just wanted to explain that none of these are really directly from our accounting software. So the first report I do is the narrative. This is, the purpose of this is to provide you with a brief update regarding finance projects, a quick summary of what's the budget reports and the fund reports, and then I try each month to go into some of the details and context for the variances. So, and that's really guided by just what I see and what I'm interested in and what's happening seasonally in our district. So like, over the summer, I tend to look at what's happening at camps and pools, things like that. This is an area that can also be guided by you, the board. If you're interested in certain things, I can add that to my report. I like to look at the why behind the numbers. The data is from the budget reports, the fund reports. I have a giant budget query report in Excel that I use, and that's where I find the detail, and then the investment reports. In terms of preparing it, I review the budget reports, I review the query, and then I just start digging in and researching. Sometimes it means I'm asking questions for April or Terry. Sometimes it means I'm asking various staff. Why, this looks funny to me. What happened, or why isn't this? Why are we off budget so much? And I get sort of the story behind the numbers. As far as how you could review this, ask questions and figure out what you're interested in and whether it's something that we need to add to this this overview summary in a specific way. So the next report we do is called the preliminary cash position report. I also sometimes refer to this as the treasurer's report. So the purpose is to give the board an overview of our sort of cash and investment portfolio. It's a final reconciliation after the month closing allows me, and this allows me to review the reconciliations. So we have a reconciliation spreadsheet, and then I take this, and it's a little different. I start with the beginning balance, and I look at all the cash inflows and outflows, get to the ending balance, and make sure it all ties out. So it's another reconciliation for me, and it provides a breakout of the monthly payments. The data is from the bank and investment statements. It's also from the account reconciliations and an MSI accounts payable report that I run. And then I use the data and create this. This is always the first report I do after a close, just to make sure we are fully reconciled. If we're not, then I go back and I work with our accounting manager to see what's happening and what we still need to work on. In terms of your review of this report, I would suggest looking for anything unexpected or drastic swings month to month. For example, if you notice that all of a sudden bond proceeds of $6 million showed up one month and you were like, oh, we didn't approve that, what's going on? That would be definitely something that you would want to bring to my attention. Also making sure that we are, that the total payments, this bottom part, the voucher list, kind of makes sense, right? Again, no drastic swings, something that isn't unexpected. This would be especially important for the treasurer to take a look at, that there's, it seems in line. The next report we have is the investment schedule. And this is exactly what it is. It's a monthly investment summary. I use the PMA statements and confirmations, and then I have an Excel investment spreadsheet that I use that tracks maturities, interest receivable, purchases. So I update that spreadsheet each month as needed. And then the investment schedule is used to create the monthly investment journal entries for interest receivable, maturities, and purchases. In terms of reviewing this, again, any investment questions you have and anything unexpected, something that looks strange. I try to highlight things like, I don't know if you noticed on my narrative report, I mentioned that one of our bonds for Oakton was supposed to mature on the 31st, but that was a Sunday, so it didn't actually mature until early June 2nd. So I try to catch those for you. But if I missed it and you had a question about it, this would be a place where you could ask. Then we have the PMA report. So this is a report that PMA provides for us. It's created by them. The only data point that we provide on this report is the other liquid amount, which is our cash balance. So anything that's not investment related. And I just give them that after I'm done with the treasurer's report. And they send us the report, we review it, and then I include it for you. So it does give us some performance data. It gives us a pie chart of our investment portfolio, our monthly distribution, so some information from our investment company. This, again, is another report that you could review, ask investment questions. The report following it is an investment chart, and this just lays out the maturities for the year. And you can see with the bar chart, how our maturities are happening and our investments are decreasing as things mature. Now, these are three separate reports about investing. I don't know if that's too much. It's something I'd like some guidance with on the board, or are each one of these reports, they have a slightly different purpose, and so they're valuable, which is fine. Or if it's, seems repetitive, we can definitely discuss that. Okay, the next reports are the fund reports. I sometimes refer to these as the budget reports. This is the year-to-date comparisons by fund, operating fund, and all funds. It's also year-to-date budget and prior year comparison report. And it does show the monthly fund balance estimate. The data from this is from queries that I run in Excel from MSI, or accounting software. And basically, I run the query, I double check everything, make sure it's in balance, and then I'm doing a lot of cutting and pasting from that query into this report. Again, always making sure we're keeping everything in sync.
Wait, the report on page 149, you have to populate all that?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it really, once you get the hang of it, it goes quick. Yes. This is why we want some.
That's insane. That's insane.
What I do, these are my favorite reports, because this is where I look for things that don't make sense. This is where I look for the swings. This is where I focus on the percentage of year-to-date compared to budget, year-to-date prior year, what's happening. Does it make sense with what I know is happening in the district? And then I'm also able, and this is another thing I really like to do, is I can look at this, I start digging, and I can help staff do things better. So I can reach out to staff and say, we're really off budget here. Your allocation for the budget looks a little funny to me. Can we talk about it? They get back to me, we figure out maybe what it should be, and then I can make that correction in the budget. And when I say correction in the budget, I'm not changing the total dollar value. I'm just changing the monthly allocation. So that way it's more valuable for staff, it's more accurate to what's happening, and it's more accurate as you review this.
For like timing issues or what?
Timing issues, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it's also time that I can make notes for the budget next year. Like, we have to remember to do it this way next year. This looks off. So for you guys for the board looking at this, again, what I would, look at is, maybe the year-to-date, the big swings. Is there something that doesn't make sense with what you know is happening at the district? You can look at dollar variances. Sometimes you'll see a big swing percentage, but the dollar amounts are small, so you don't need to really worry about it. Although you can certainly ask about it. But sometimes you see the shocking percentage swing, and then you look and see it's only $36. So we're in good shape. The other thing, another way to look at this is look at an area that you're interested in. If you're interested in, the property taxes, or keeping an eye on salary and wages over a couple months, or utilities over a couple months, that's another way to review this, is pick something that you're interested in and then kind of look at it month over month. And then again, I'm always here for questions as you're reviewing. And then the final report.
Can I just say something about that? Just what I find helpful in this report is to look down the percentages in the middle.
Mhm.
Year-to-date is percentage of year-to-date budget.
Yep.
And if they're not close to 100, that's something that you might be interested in looking at. So that's just my hack.
Yeah. No, that's what I do.
Because otherwise I get lost.
Yeah. Thank you. Yep. Nope. That's a great way to tackle it. And then after each one of these fund reports is a chart. And so this is what we're doing with these charts, and these charts were added last year. This was something new we were doing, is we're comparing the funds for FY22 actuals, 23 actuals, 24 actuals, 2025 budget, and the 2025 year-to-date actuals. So everything's year-to-date, and we're going back a couple years. And again, we had talked about this when we added this report. We went back even a further year, just because Oakton is kind of, is such a large number with the bond proceeds. So we wanted to give you another year that's kind of a quote-unquote normal year for comparison's sake. So this is just a visual representation of the year-to-date revenue, year-to-date expense, and fund balance over a couple years.
And I like to think of it as the cheat sheet of the report above.
There you go. It's the cheat sheet for the report above.
Is that
That's
true?
perfect.
Is
Yep.
it okay?
It's
Is it
again,
okay if I
again.
cheat?
Yep. It's a quick way to look at it. Right. Exactly. And then the final report is the fund balance projection report, and this is exactly what it says. It's an annual fund balance projection by month. The data from this comes from a query in Excel that is from MSI data, and it's set up using the monthly budget. And again, this is another data entry for me each month into this to get the actuals. I update the actuals only, and then I label when we've got an actual month. I mostly don't touch it going forward, except when I know for sure something is going to have a material effect on it. So for example, in this month, I moved the property taxes. I delayed them a couple months. So I put them in the final quarter of the year because we're not quite sure when we're going to be receiving our property taxes. So unless I have like pretty concrete information that something needs to be moved, I mostly just leave it as the budget. I would review that report, any concerns you have regarding fund balance, anything that you're just worried about as you're, kind of keeping an eye on that bottom fund balance. That's it. We're done. So I know it's a lot to take in, but
Okay, can I ask a stupid question?
there are no stupid
Why
questions.
should I care about that last report? I've never understood why I should care about it. I mean, I know we want a fund balance above something, but I don't know what it is.
Well, I can add, so we do want to keep a fund balance above something, and so underneath this, what you're not seeing is that percentage calculation of where our fund balance is, which maybe that's what I should add. So you can see that we're keeping, we're within our fund balance policy. Other than that, it really is just, so it is a guide on where our fund balance is going to be. The tricky thing about this report, and we've kind of never come up with a perfect solution, is that it's based on budget but the budget is a projection, right? So as I actualize it, you know, we get a better idea, but we still have, like right now, we have half the month that's still a projection. And I can't, half the year, I'm sorry, half the year that's still a projection. So it will give us a general idea, but it's not an exact science. This report is more of an art than a science. And I don't know, maybe this isn't useful to people, which is fine. Or maybe next meeting, I can try and give you a sense of, yes, we're remaining within our fund budget. Here's kind of the percentage proof that we're within our fund budget policy. Would that make sense to add that?
Well, to me, but I'm only one person. I've just never really, I don't know what the magic number is, so I assume because you do this report, we're in the magic number?
We're in the magic number.
I mean, you can see how like the program fees and everything kind of change with the seasons. One thing that I'm interested that I don't think any of these reports really show is like how it all balances out by, I guess it's centers, right? The fitness center and Oakton and like the different, like having a sense of like what facilities bring in the most money and what the seasonality of that money is. Like, I don't have a sense of that from these reports. I mean, I can see it going up in the summer, and that's from camp. You know, like I can put one and one together, but sometimes I don't have a sense of that. And it's not necessarily specific to like the monthly report. I feel like I've asked for like a report on energy use, like because all of our utilities are like pulled together in one, and I don't have a sense of that either, like how our gas and electricity use varies from year to year within the same building. Because if the fitness center is using this is costing us this much to operate 1 year, and it's like 25% more the next year, and we don't have an explanation for that, then that might be a flag that like something's going awry, like the HVAC set points are off, or I mean, and I know that's my own pet energy efficiency interest. I acknowledge that bias, but I think that's something that I've asked for, and I thought Lauren was working on it at some point.
Lauren, like we've been working with Lauren to try and figure out, like we do, like, so we have a tracking spreadsheet, utility by utility, vendor by vendor, that includes usage for our purposes, for finance purposes, which is partially just making sure we get all the invoices. And then like when we go to bid, we've got this data. So, and we have been talking with Lauren about, okay, what other, can we merge this into something? Like, can we create one thing that kind of is one-stop shopping, right?
And it wouldn't need to be like every month either. It might just be
like
a winter
quarterly or
and summer
something.
or quarterly.
Yeah, or
Like
seasonally.
It definitely wouldn't need to be every month. I don't know. It would just be interesting to see, like, if we put new HVAC in somewhere that's newer and more efficient, is it going down? Like, I'll be curious to see Oakton with it being expanded. That was already our top energy user, and now we're going to be like, I mean, it's going to be more efficient. I mean, maybe it won't be as big of a jump because the new refrigeration system is so much better than the ancient one we were using before. But yeah, it wouldn't need to be every month. It's more of a taking the temperature. Oh God, unintentional button. Lordy, lordy. Yeah, those are just.
And the center-based reporting is like, so I don't know if you remember like what we kind of do for budget, like we do report that in budget. So that's kind of what you're interested in.
That's right.
But you would like to see that in a more updated, like, think about whether you would want to see something like that, like year to date.
That's a lot of work. I'd have to think about it, honestly. It's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work, yeah.
That's what we all look at.
Do you?
Yeah.
So recreation,
Put it in your
recreation.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, they look at the giant spreadsheet that, that is
And-
based on the query, and that's how
And-
they break it out.
And I'm giving you like quarter-baked knee-jerk reactions here, obviously. These aren't really.
Well, we love knee-jerk reactions, so that's
Oh,
fine. No, I mean, this is good feedback. I mean, you guys, I want these to be useful and to give you the information that,
Yeah, this was a good walkthrough, and I do the same thing that Cindy does with the percentages. You know, if they're super far off 100% in those reports, I look at what's going on, and usually it makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
we didn't get a grant, or we're spending more in capital, obviously, because we're, a lot of times it makes sense why the percentages are off, because something is markedly different this year than it was last year. I don't know, those are my third of the way baked thoughts on the matter. But I think overall it's very thorough, and I've got a semi-regular way that I look at it. But I really, I've said this before, I really like when you took this job in the financial report, you're like, it's this percentage more because more people are doing personal training, or largely driven by camp, or like you tell us why it's up or down if it's like a significant change. Because otherwise we're like, okay.
thank you.
Just a comment about changing a program like MSI can be a pretty daunting
Yes.
process.
Yeah.
I mean, is this something that you see as something that's high priority, low priority, on the horizon? Where does that sit? I can only
Whispered imminent.
I can only
Yeah,
imagine.
no, I
how-
think we have to. I mean, it's a fine program for some things, and it's very simple, and we all know how to use it. We know its quirks and things like that. But I think it's not doing what we need it to do and not just for the finance department. I would say for staff as a whole. We want staff to be able to have something where they can get the data that they need to do their research and understand what's happening within their programs. And it really is a hodgepodge of how we've all managed to do it with off spreadsheets and getting the data in kind of goofy ways. And but it's not sustainable. So I do think it's definitely on the horizon. One of my goals this year was to just do some research. We had a staff kickoff meeting to get their feedback. Where are their pain points? What would they, what's their wish list for what they would want in new software? But it's gonna be a big project.
Karen's done a great job so far, working through, coaching me through MSI how to get through things and everybody else, but also starting the process of seeing what staff would like the next software. It is a daunting task because you would have to select the right vendor, find them, go through everything, get on their schedule, and then you got to extract data from MSI. Then you have to have both softwares going at the same time. This can take up to an 18-month implementation depending on what software you get. So like next year with us talking about it with budget, we might select it and begin the process, but it might not be implemented until sometime in 2027. So just note that replacing the financial software could be a long process depending on availability from the software company and what they need from us. And knowing that we're a big district with a lot of accounts, a lot of data, records retention, trying to gain information from previous years, it takes time.
I will say, just to try to make a comment about taking something away instead of asking to add something too. I mean, you mentioned that there are 3 reports for the investments. I mean, what I usually look at is like our overall interest rate versus the benchmark, and the investment schedule gives like the interest rates for each specific like investment. And I don't know how others feel about that. Like, I don't know if I need that level of detail, as long as I know how the overall portfolio is performing. I don't know.
I think the bond stuff and even the CDs, it's important because it's public money that's sitting someplace, right?
Sure.
So when you show the actual report, it's like, listen, we don't have it in a magic bank you can't see. Here's the actual picture of the report every single month. The money has.
Take something away instead of asking Karen to do it.
No.
Well, no,
I think
but-
that was like
but-
my motivation.
So I like the investment stuff because it's public money, right? We're not using
You
it.
like
but-
all 3.
Yeah,
like seeing all 3.
I'm all right with that. You've been providing these reports every board meeting, right? Or at least the once a month meeting where there's a financial report. Some of these, I think you can probably go from monthly to quarterly on the detail side of it. So like I like the all governments fund report because it gives you everything, right? That's about as detailed as we get down. Talks about property tax, revenue, expenses. You start getting into the each individual fund, so you'll fund 11, fund 12, fund 12. Maybe that could be quarterly, or as a board member asks a question about a specific fund. Like I'm just trying, like, and for you, would that save you work, or is it like then I just don't put it in the report, but I'm still pulling all the numbers every month? It doesn't matter.
I'd have, I could probably eventually build something that would work just for that. But right now I have to build I go bottom to top.
Yeah. So I look at I look at relevance, information, and saving you time. Like I don't want you just doing this tedious task for us to breeze through numbers that we don't understand half the month anyway.
Well, I'd still want to do that because that is how I communicate with staff too, or April and her staff. Like when I see something off, so I probably I would personally want that detail. But
well, and
useful to you guys.
for the staff side of it, it's fine. I'm saying for the board side of it, me knowing what the breakdown was of Fund 11, Fund 12 every month, I honestly probably wouldn't look at it. I do like looking at the all governmental fund, the first one. I thought that was important. When you get to the bar graph about comparison that we started doing a couple of years ago, yes, having the pre Oakton referendum year, having that, I was looking at that going, we could probably lose a year, right? Once that year rolls over and Oakton rolls over, we probably keep it to 2 to 3 years. It's a good comparison to see how stuff's growing. Outside of that, I would just say the frequency that the board sees the reports, I think would be the most change. I think all the information's good, especially for someone's new, like Commissioner Mallon. When I was new, I thought all the information was great. I had the time, I would go through it and it helped me understand more. But as you get on through years, because finance does such a good job, like when they were doing the audit report earlier this year or earlier this meeting, most of that information we had seen so often, right? Even the historical stuff. I went through the report. I'm like, I've seen this report, seen this report, seen this report. Not that and then there's new information. It's like, oh, this is cool. Like I was looking at the bond, what our bond cap is compared to referendum. So that was something new I got out of the audit this year. But most of that stuff, because a lot of it's supplied by you, maybe there is some redundancy with some of this stuff. But that's just my opinion. I think overall it's great. I think for the public, I don't think the public's absorbing all this stuff. There's a way to save you time or save us some, a couple pages in a report instead of doing it every month, every quarter. I think that'd be a benefit.
Okay, great.
Which one do you hate the most?
I love them all. Like Sophie's Choice, I can't pick.
I like the Pac-Man report myself.
This week it's Pac-Man. The investment funds rebalanced.
Well, I mean, we meet a couple times with our investment firm. John and I talk about it often. Both John and I started just as Oakton was starting, and so that's been such a mammoth piece of the investments that I really feel like we've been pretty conservative and cautious because, at the very beginning, we weren't sure how the project was going to, happen. We weren't sure about the maturity schedule. We were just really learning about those investments specifically for Oakton. So I do feel like once Oakton is kind of clear, then we will be looking at the investment schedule in a different way. How to kind of make the money work a little bit differently for us. How it ties to capital. I just think Oakton really clouded things and kind of blocked us for a little while.
They wanted to be liquid when the bills were due, but they didn't know. They had to figure out when the bills were going to be due.
And I just want to say, further complicating Karen's life, very strict structures around how money can be invested by the park district, statutes that control that. So she's not free to go do Bitcoin or whatever. I mean, it's right, but her choices are limited to begin with by statute, and so add to that this bill pay question, and there isn't there certainly isn't the pressure like if there was day trading or something.
Okay, so given you want to get a new, some new software, and it's going to take a lot of research, are you going to put it in the budget, some amount in the budget for next year?
Yeah, I would have.
Do you have an idea of what that might be? No? Over 50,000, over 100,000?
From
No?
from experience, it's,
Yeah.
you pay per hour that the person works on the software, so
Uh-huh.
it depends on how long it takes to extract data.
Okay.
MSI controls our data, so you have to pay them. So it's not just what the annual fee would be per year to utilize that software. And with rates going up, it could vary. So I can't put a number to it without getting data once we select the right firm that we would like to use. But it's going to be thousands of dollars. When you say 50,000, it might be more than that. It might be whatever it is, but I can't say it's going to be exactly 50 or 100, but it's going to be a large chunk.
But we will see a number, you think, in October, November? No?
I mean, we're researching.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. And to, like, I'm a very cautious person by nature.
Do you have enough people to help you research?
I have me.
Okay, is that
Other
I mean,
people
yeah.
on the staff.
Okay.
They've
I mean, you have a lot of work to do,
Well,
you
there's
know?
only a
Yeah.
handful of companies that really
Okay.
do
Okay.
municipal
Right.
accounting. We're not going to be using like QuickBooks or something.
Yeah.
We have to find the software that.
Okay.
So yeah, I've done a fair amount of research talking to IGFOA.
Yeah.
So I've got my list of vendors.
I just want to see you get a new and improved software. That's what I want to see for you. You know?
Yeah, no, we all do.
Yeah.
But we also want to be mindful and careful with our steps because, if something goes awry, I don't want it to go awry with, the finances. I can't
Okay. Well.
bear that.
Karen's also been talking to, like, she's got a group of superintendent of finance or director of finances that she talks to and getting positive negatives for many different softwares. So she's doing a great job, but it's like you put a amount to it. You remember, like, we sign a contract, but it might be once it gets implemented. So the fee could be, 6 months in 2026 and 12 months in 2027 for implementation. You never know what it could be, but we will have more information as we get to October. That's the plan.
And since I've been here, we've been through 2 major implementations or high five, with RecTrack and the software and then Paycom, our payroll software. And it is a lot. And, right.
So when you talk about the hours, is that for the transition? The hours to get the data out of MSI?
There's both. So from previous experiences in my life, when you go with a different company, sometimes they build the software towards you, those reports that Karen talking about that she curates. They could generate a report that way, build your, general ledger accounts, everything. So they get charged, they allocate 50 hours to this person. You're on, Eileen, Karen, whomever are going to be on a Teams call all day going through everything with them to make sure it looks right. So they're going to build the data for you. And then you also have to pay MSI to extract that data. So it's both.
Hmm.
Correct.
Point, we've gone through this twice. It's been anything but smooth. Again, when you're not dealing with finances, you have a little more wiggle room. It's a lot, and I think Karen is saying there's only a couple vendors. I've talked to a lot of people as well from the IT world. I think it's going to be a big undertaking. We're excited to do it. I think we just have to plan.
I just saying this because, I'm the treasurer and, I've seen what you're talking about and I just want you to have something you're happy with. And I think the sooner you get it done, the better, but so, yeah.
I wish I could just blink and we'd be
I know.
2
So,
years.
yeah, I would think the whole board would like to see you happy with, your software project.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah, do what you have to do. Thank you. Any other comments on the finance board report? I don't know, Karen.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for going through it with me. I appreciate it.
Okay, good. All right, approval of account expenditure list. All right, I move to approve the payment of expenditures in the total amount of $3,415,859.29.
Second.
Thank you. All right. Questions, comments? Okay, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Halting?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc,
Aye.
Commissioner Mellon. Yes. Commissioner Matza,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bo,
Yes.
Commissioner Grau.
Aye.
Okay. All right, I turn it over to information technology with O'Leary.
Welcome.
Thank you. I know there'd be so many great photo ops here, so next time I'll wear more lipstick and, anyway, good evening. My report is on page 159. I tried to jump on the train of Margaret and redo my area as it's not really a overly exciting area, but in IT, we've been super busy along with recreation in terms of our camps and aquatic facilities being opened. The first few weeks of both of those are always a couple bumps and hiccups here and there, but we've gone pretty smoothly so far. Oakton is a big chunk of our time and commitment, especially now as it's getting a little bit closer, and our network is being hooked up tomorrow from Comcast, so we're looking forward to start getting everything in and functioning in there. So other than that, the rest of our information's in the report, a couple videos. The staff worked with getting the outdoor AEDs programmed and set up at the 4 locations, so that was something new for us. Never programmed AEDs before. So yeah, that's it. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Has it been publicized where the outdoor AEDs are?
I just program them. I don't know. We're just on the back end of that, but
Remind us again.
the locations of them, South Park, Hinckley, Centennial, Woodland. Thank you.
I saw the one at South Park.
Yeah, I did too, actually, when we were leaving. Jeff was very excited to see that there. He usually rolls with one in his car, so he was excited to have one there too. So.
Is the board going to have training on those?
That's not really.
They talk to be self-explanatory.
They pretty much are.
They
Yeah.
talk to you, they tell you what to do.
Yeah,
They
they're.
literally give you step-by-step instructions.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's CPR and first aid courses available. I know the fire department, the city has them for a cost, but they are pretty self-explanatory. But I would have to defer that question.
Never need one.
Yeah, exactly. Any additional questions?
Just curious, you know, you and I have similar roles.
Yes.
And so I always get asked the question, you know, what area of information technology do you see as like increasing concern or something that's taking up a lot of your time these days that maybe wasn't a year or 5 years ago?
I'll take Oakton out of that because that's pretty much 90% of my stuff right now. But you know what it is for us? It's the additional amount of equipment is, say, for camps this year, I think we have 20 iPads, iPhones. These are things we never had, which is great as the camps are getting bigger and, you know, technology is changing. This year, we invested in a mobile device management system, which has been fantastic. Along with an asset management system, so I can log in at any time and see where all of our iPads are. We push updates out to them. If someone inadvertently with teenagers who are the counselors, phones get missing or something happens to them, we can remote lock them, we can remote shut them down, we can wipe them, so we have a much better grip on it, but that's been the hardest challenge, I would say, over the last few years, like more staff, more devices, and there's only 3 of us. I feel, you know, so just keeping up with the volume is getting to be a lot. I am definitely not asking for another staff member this budget season, but let's keep that on there maybe for next year. So yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge is the growth. While it's super exciting, you know, it's just keeping up with everything. All right, thank you.
Thanks for coming. Thank you. Okay, we move on to recreation. Commissioner Mallon.
Thank you. Before I turn it over to April, I did have one question. Melissa mentioned the seasonal revenue from the day campers. About how many day campers do we have this year?
Total, it's in the thousands. So we'll have a report on that eventually.
Every morning I see so many little kids marching on over there, all excited.
Park,
all over
every
town.
location.
All over town, right.
Yes.
So it's really great. And Let's see, also the pool usage seems to be up. Is that statistically true?
Well, we started out a little slow just because of the weather, but we've definitely picked back up as far as passes and attendance. So
Well, thank you.
stays that route.
All right, and your report,
Sure.
please.
As always, lots of exciting and fun events for the public. The youth had the royalty and fashion show, the adorable preschool graduation, the pop star dance party, and the dance recital, which we talked a little bit about last time already.
I want to ask about Matt teaching hip hop dancing.
Yes, it's one of his specialties.
Oh no! I love that.
Yes, so we're trying that out to see if it would take off. So it has. He taught it at a different location. It was very popular there. He gets a following, so it's an instructor at heart for sure.
Cool. Dirk looks like he wants to take it. His look of excitement.
What occurred to me was that Australian woman who broke dance.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Dirk.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Maybe the next champion can be from
Matt,
Park Ridge.
don't listen. And the popsicle party to promote the preschool program. It's entertaining to look at the photos with their hats and gloves and eating popsicles when it's so warm out now. And the Ascension dance team held their tryouts with more dancers than last year, so that's great. Wildwood, the visitors do not seem to decrease, so 1,800 visitors last month, which is just really impressive for such a small facility. And I wanted to point out the main park pavilion had 13 rentals, so that's become a popular amenity as well. The activity center and the fitness center collaborated, so there's a little bit in each of their reports on the National Senior Health and Fitness Day. So in total, over 100 participants enjoyed the variety of offerings. And the craft fair was another successful event, a beautiful day. And the activity center had many trips, classes, events, including the annual summer kickoff party, which for the first time, I think, since we've been holding it, had to be inside because of the cooler kickoff to summer. The fitness center memberships increased again since last May, so that just continues to tick up, and membership and group fitness scans were up as well. And of course, we've all been talking about aquatics and camps, and appreciate the comment about, and the email staff were very appreciative. It's for both camp and the aquatics team, it's a huge amount of training and huge responsibility for the majority of staff being really young. It's a lot, and that's why they have such extensive training. So that's definitely appreciated when we get the positive comments. Another guard class is finishing up today, finished up today, and we'll bring the aquatics team up to about 150 for this summer, assuming they all passed. I'm sure they did. And the Riptide swim team is up to 192 participants. We've definitely grown out of our space. We used to be at Centennial and Hinckley, and the aquatics team worked out a great reciprocal arrangement with Maine South. So now they're practicing indoors at Maine South as well, which is also nice because we don't have to cancel there if it rains. And again, pool pass sales have picked up just since this report was written. We've already, with the warm weather, that definitely spiked the total pass mark over the 8,000 mark. And then I was kind of amazed at the amount of special events coming up when we were putting together that list. So that was great. We added more yoga at Hodges, so that kicks off this weekend on Sunday, and of course the concert at the park on Friday. That's what we have going on. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I want to say this was my first year attending the craft fair, and it really was lovely, and I definitely came home with a bag of things, including some nice chocolates for my husband for Father's Day. So
Lovely to have no cicadas this year.
I mean, that is a general statement for this summer.
Overall, yes,
Well,
but
and I
the
thought-
craft fair was, that was interesting last year.
I think the vendors were more appreciative this year because there was more foot traffic.
Yeah, it was the open house at the fitness center on the same day also.
Yes,
and
I
it was,
think that helped as well.
Yep.
And also, we went to a tap dancing event with the seniors.
Mhm.
The Night of the Stars.
Stars.
And they had to just keep bringing out more and more chairs.
Yeah, they had a lot of walk-in.
Yeah, that was really fun.
That should be in next month's report, I think. I don't know. But yeah, they had 30 some people pre-register, and I think they put out, double the amount of chairs, and then it was just people that kept coming in. So that was great.
Good problem to have.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the concerts in the park. I just wanted to mention that I think the Friends of the Park is sponsoring both of the concerts this weekend and next weekend. So I'm putting a plug in for them, and there'll be a 50-50 raffle at both of them. So if you're wanting to help raise money for more concerts, you can come. No grilling. No grilling. We didn't do it last year either. No money. Didn't make much money.
No, it didn't.
So hopefully it's good weather for the poor people who have to do the workout before the concert. 90-degree weather. Oh, maybe a half-hour workout.
Is that for kids and adults? The 7 to 8 portion?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you, April. Very impressive.
Thank you. All right, we move to Buildings and Grounds, Commissioner Leduc.
And I will hand that off to Superintendent Wolf.
Thank you. My report begins on page 169. Just a few things to highlight. I think probably for us, the biggest thing is that we've got our full-time staff positions filled. Since this report was written, we have made an offer and had it accepted for the last position we had available, which is for the evening position over at Oakton Sports Complex. So we're finally going to be fully staffed for our full-time staff, which is great. So we've had a lot of good people joining our team, and we're excited. It's fun to see all the new faces in the department. So a lot of efforts spent with Oakton, just like Eileen had mentioned. Right now, we're very busy on our end of things, planning for part-time staff hiring. Obviously, we had the full-time staff hire, but we're also working through a lot of different contractual agreements that we have for different services that we need throughout the building. So we've contracted for HVAC preventative maintenance. We just put together a cleaning services bid that just went out today. Building automation system services that will have fire alarm and sprinkler alarm, burglar alarm. So a lot of different things, kind of lined up and that we're working through and keeping tabs on. So I've been very busy on that end. I do want to point out in my report, it does indicate that we were going to start making ice on June 23rd, on Monday. That's actually been pushed back. It's been pushed back based on a response and a suggestion from the ice maker in that he didn't think it'd be a great idea to get everything up and running and get the system set right before a holiday week. And so he suggested, because we still have a good amount of time, there's no reason to rush this and turn that much extra power on and use up that much extra energy this soon. To give it a few extra weeks, and we'll go after that and begin building the ice after the 4th of July holiday. So it was nice that he brought that actually to Facility Manager Brent Dolan's attention, who then elevated that to me, and we had a whole holistic conversation about that. Last thing I just want to highlight and point out is that we're all getting a little bit excited, at least over at the Hinckley Garage, hopefully here at Prospect too, about the idea of food scrap composting. It's something different, and some of the things that we've already heard and learned about it just from Lauren, just sounds like it's going to be kind of a new adventure for us. Apparently our facilities maintenance manager, Ron Jacobson, already does this regularly at home, so he's already offered to help kind of talk us through that. But we have a couple of lunch and learns planned coming up to train and teach the staff how to go about doing that and what can be composted and what can't. So just a few things for tonight, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has anything in my report or otherwise.
Do you know how many questions I get about plastic nursery pots and collecting those? It's great that there's a place now to take those.
Yeah, it was something that, Lauren came up with. I don't know if she had heard it elsewhere or whatever, maybe Cindy, sure. And so she jumped right on it and they worked on putting it together, so.
Thomas, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow, Lurvies takes them.
Bless you. Any other questions?
Question, when do you anticipate Oakton Park opening?
We anticipate Oakton opening in August.
Ask the boss over there.
We're still working on a finalized date, but it'll be sometime in August. More details will come about a pre-party and a grand opening to the public, but dates will be announced soon, and it will be sometime in August, and then programs actually starting in September.
I'm excited about the composting. I think it's interesting we're using waste not, so.
Yeah, it worked out to be our best option for what we were doing. So, and they'll be doing, I think, a full removal instead of like a tip and clean situation. So I know when Lauren and I were kind of talking through that, just the idea of having that, fully removed in a fresh, clean.
Good Resource does that too.
There was just when we weighed out that option with the two different ones, it was a little bit less expensive with them, I think. So for what our needs were, but not that they didn't do it, but when there was like an extra cost, I thought, for that. No.
No, it's standard operating procedure.
Well, either way.
It was fun to see South Park. It looks beautiful.
Good. All right. Well, thank you.
Oh, there's a.
Oh, yeah, no, I have a motion. So, I move to approve an agreement with Consolidated Flooring in the amount of $34,753.13 and authorize the executive director to execute and deliver such agreement.
Second.
Superintendent Wolf?
So there's a memo in the packet. This is for the flooring at the O'Connor building. When we were soliciting pricing, there was just a little misunderstanding of the area that was going to get covered. So our initial, proposals when preparing our budget allowed us to replace the flooring within the main room. The flooring in the hallways is showing a lot of wear and is in need of replacement. In fact, we've actually had a tile or two pop up on us. So we asked them for additional pricing so that the whole facility would be the same flooring throughout, and so that's the reason for the change and from what we had budgeted. Fortunately, we've had savings on another project that will cover the majority of it, and the other amount is very minimal that we'll find in other project savings as well. But so yes.
What happened to the flooring? How old is that building?
That building is about 10 years old now. So, in flooring in commercial facilities with that kind of use are recommended to be replaced about every 8 to 10 years. So the carpeting is kind of unraveling a little bit at some of the edges, and the current design is not great, where we've got hard surfacing around the edge and then a transition piece, which is really kind of too large, and then it transitions into the carpeting. So it creates a couple of weird spots. It's not easy to clean because of the carpeting throughout when we consider how we've used it. So we've been very successful with luxury vinyl tiles. In many other places, such as like South Park and some of the Wildwood Nature camp areas and stuff over at Main Park. So that's what we're going to be using for this location. So,
Any other comments or questions?
That flooring gets used a lot by kids doing crafts, etc.
Yeah.
I don't think it was planned.
Carpet is not ideal for that.
No.
My son had a job over there cleaning up after the camps.
Oof.
I heard stories.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, could you please call the roll? Vote.
Commissioner Mallon?
Yes.
Commissioner Matza?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy? Yes. Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Halting?
Aye.
Commissioner Leduc?
Aye.
Commissioner Grau?
Aye.
All right, That passes, and I'll pass it on to Commissioner Matza for policy.
There's no report for policy, so I'll turn it back over to President Grau for intergovernmental.
It's not me. Commissioner Holting.
We are going to talk about we had heard about this before, the approval of the Maine Township High School District 207 intergovernmental agreement, sheltering and mass care facilities. I move to approve a sheltering and mass care facilities intergovernmental agreement with Maine Township High School District 207 as presented and to authorize the board president to execute and deliver such agreement.
Second.
Do we need to discuss
Yep.
anymore? Is there
The only thing I want to point out is that since the last meeting, Director Riker and Safety Manager Myers went through this to fix all the grammar errors that we caught last time. And then the school district did sign it at the beginning of this month. So once we finalize it and sign it tonight, it'll be official and a copy will be given to the school district as well. Mhm.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed?
Any opposed? All right. Communications and correspondence?
There's none.
All right. Do we have any new business?
I actually just noticed that the dollar amount in the motion on the page suggested was off by $1,000. Do we need to amend that?
For
The floor. It's short. It's short 1,000. It should be 35, not 34. Do we need to do anything?
I did. You know what? I can just do it again. I feel like it takes 30 seconds, and I feel like it's better to.
The seconder both approve of this Scrivener's error change. That's all we need.
That's me.
So you made it, and who seconded it?
Melissa.
I did.
Melissa did. And you both agree with the 35?
Yes.
That's all needs to be done.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Terry.
Better to catch it
catching
now. I actually do have a new business thing. I recently had an issue brought to me by a member of the council for my son's scout troop, where there had been a scout that was kind of having issues with communication regarding their Eagle project. And I was wondering, does our park district have, because I know some park districts do like a lot with scouting, and I was wondering if our park district had like any sort of like a protocol in place for scout requests, because I know we do get a lot of Eagles who come to the park district.
Well, I'm not sure if we have a set policy, but when we receive inquiries regarding Eagle Scout projects, I know, Margaret, you may have received some in the past. I've received a couple, and then I would forward them on to the corresponding staff or supervisor that would be responsible. If they're looking to do something at the nature center, I would give it to April, and she would work with her staff. If they're looking to do something in one of the parks, I've given them to Terry and have him and his staff go through it to make sure they would reach out to the participant and discuss the potential projects. I know there was one recently that, I passed it off to Terry and Manager Barker, and they worked on it and had several correspondence back and forth with the family regarding an Eagle Scout project. But I don't know if there was a set policy. I can't quote anything right now, Commissioner LeDuc, but based on previous experiences that we've had, I have forwarded them off to the corresponding supervisors and managers who would be responsible for those areas that they're looking to do if they came to me.
Okay, because I was just wondering, because I know that there's been ones that have gone really well, and it seemed like the communication was great. And I mean, to be fair, I'm only hearing one side of the story, but I know that there was also a recent one where somebody felt like the communication they received was perhaps like confusing, and they were left feeling like the person didn't understand like how Eagle projects worked and like what makes them different from a regular service project. So I was just wondering if there, like I said, if there were any protocols, since I feel like it is almost an annual basis that there's an Eagle project where somebody wants to, do an Eagle project for the benefit of the park district.
Yeah, I would be happy more to look into this and discuss any matters that you've had with us separately to make sure where we had a disconnect, because the one thing we don't want to have is disconnect with our communication with any public, even if it's an Eagle Scout project or something else. So be happy more to talk to you about it and looking to see if there is any other procedures that we could put in place or to follow.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to thank Margaret in the marketing department from the Park Ridge Garden Club, an affiliate of the Park District. The Facebook postings you had for both the plant sale and the upcoming garden walk this Sunday, noon to 5. Still get the tickets. And also Terry's department for helping with the plant sale and the guys lugging the plants around and setting up tables. So thank you. Shout outs to both of your departments and anyone else who helped. So thank you.
They helped Go Green the same weekend with the compost giveaway. So those guys were busy and it was a crazy weekend. Thank you. All right. Any other new business? All right, we have no need to move into closed session, so I will move to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you.
I read